Yes. Hello, Monty, once again. Okay, it seems that you are muted. You would need to unmute yourself. You would click on the microphone,
Okay, got it.
and that is our system. Good evening. Good afternoon, Mr. Smiley. I always see you smiling all the time.
I'm smiling.
You just posted pictures with your wife. Is she your wife? Yes.
No, she's my girlfriend.
Your girlfriend.
Yeah.
God, all covered in blood and this amazing fish and excited. What was it?
We were in Costa Rica. I have a property there, a house, and then we explored a little bit and went to Los Sueños. And a buddy of mine let me have his fishing boat and fishing team, and we went out and got some tuna. So it was awesome.
God, fantastic photos, Monty. Fantastic.
Yeah, she was so happy because she loves tuna fishing. So my son caught two of them. She caught one. I caught one. I tore my hamstring on my trip. Not on the fishing trip right before, so I had to rattle that like a 45-pound tuna out of the water, like sitting on a cooler. It was a little bit painful, but I got it in.
Were you belted? Were you belted to the chair or something?
No. I had the rod, between my legs with a rod holder thing, and
Yes.
I got it up that way. So
Good evening, good afternoon, everybody. And today we are having a different type of live stream. Again, all about the domain names, and the guest is, well, one of the most established names in the domain name industry and the history of domain names, Monte Cahn. Maybe, Monte, you can give a little background for those who do not know you.
Sure, and thanks for having me. It's always a pleasure being on your show. I've been in the domain industry since 1995. I was one of the first ones in the industry, helped pioneer many of the current standard processes in the industry from way back then, including the domain aftermarket, domain brokerage, escrow, appraisal, who is privacy. I used to run moniker.com, which was a leading ICANN accredited registrar. We were the first registrar that combined monetization of domain names through traffic monetization, domain sales and auctions, and also domain registrations together, and created a domainer and investor registrar, you might call it, for the industry. And I did created the first live and online domain auctions. And to date, we've sold over $563 million worth of domain names. So more than anybody and everybody combined.
For your clients, and yes. And our watchers, of course, they know that we are organizing a domain summit in London. I'm trying to establish an independent event for European domainers. And of course,
what are the dates
again? 22nd and 23rd. August, 1 week before
August, yeah.
NamesCon. Yes.
Yeah, I would have loved to attend that, but I'm taking my daughter to college, and I'm going to be on a Western road trip before NamesCon.
Yes. Okay.
So I will not be able to attend that event, but it sounds great.
Next year, Monty.
If you have it next year, I'd love to come. Love it.
Absolutely. We'll make it larger. We'll make it even larger. Yes, and of course, everybody knows NamesCon. And NamesCon is the number one domain networking event and domain conference in the world. Yes, I would say so. There are none larger ones now.
No, it's the largest conference now. It replaced, what was the largest, which was called Traffic.
Yes.
So they didn't swap it that way. It just turned out that Traffic ended, and then NamesCon kind of came to be. So it's the largest conference. They generally have between 1,200 and 1,400 attendees. I don't know what the count's going to be this year, but hopefully it's a strong showing. And we've not had a live domain conference in almost 3 years. So it should be a very exciting and welcome event because nobody's been able to see each other due to COVID and everything that's been happening ever since, COVID started. So it'll be in Austin, Texas from the 31st of August through September the 3rd.
3rd or 4th?
3rd.
3rd. Okay.
The third is a networking day, but so the conference is really August 31st, 1st, 2nd, and then the 3rd is just a barbecue networking day. So some people fly out Friday night, some people stay for that Saturday morning.
And Monty, I understand that you are doing again. Last year you did the auction, and this year you are doing auction again.
Yeah, so last year, just to keep things fluid in the market and
Yes.
liquid, we did a live online auction that was broadcasted
Okay.
in a studio. Um,
Yes.
this year, we'll be live in the audience again with paddles raised in the air, and anybody can participate online using our online auction platform as well. So we're pretty excited about that. And there's a lot of really great names that have been submitted so far, and probably some more that are coming. It's focused on premium domain names in various
Yes.
extensions. Many .coms, but a lot of other extensions too, like .xyz. And I'm now one of the founders of .hip hop, so there'll be some premium .hip hop domain names in there. So,
Congratulations.
yeah, so pretty
And
excited about that.
we were trying. I had a plan to launch an auction as well, with our event with London Domain Summit. But once I understood how much work is there, and to keep things on track, and to get the main goal to get as many people in as possible, I kind of did put that idea away for the next year. When did you start preparing for this auction? It is a hell of work.
Oh, it's tons of work, and I've been doing it for so many years. I can't even remember. I can't even count how many live auctions I've done, but we've between our live and online auctions, it's thousands of auctions over the last 25 years in various formats, in various segments. But we started about a month and a half ago, I would say,
Okay.
in preparing names and reaching out to some premium domain name owners. And then we haven't made that many announcements yet because I'm taking a different approach this year. I usually get really bogged down because there's literally tens of thousands of submissions.
Okay.
And I personally go through the list myself based off of my knowledge and experience and pick the best names that I think will
Yes.
sell at the best prices. And so I decided to do it more methodical this time, just given where we are in the economy, how much time we have until NamesCon, what the current market looks like, and so it's working a lot better for me that way. So the names selected so far for pre-bidding, not all those names are going to be in the auction, but pre-bidding can be seen right now at rotd.hibid.com, HIBID.com, or you can just go to rotd.com and click
Yes.
on the auction platform.
Yes, and I believe the links are in the description. The links are fine. Yes. Did you check the links in the description?
I did not
YouTube?
check the links, but as long as
Should be
everything's
yes.
at rotd.com, you can register to bid, you can submit names, you can sign up for brokerage, all that kind of stuff. So
I remember last year you were buried into domain names, into reviewing domain names.
Yeah, it's a
How
lot
do
of
you?
work. It's a lot of work.
You had thousands of them being submitted and submitted and submitted. Yes.
Tens of thousands. One year I had over 120,000 names submitted.
Oh God.
And then you have to whittle that list down, to about 500 that will be in the pre-bidding platform or the online auction platform, and then from there, it's about 100 to 120 that will show up in the live auction.
Okay.
So it's an awful lot of work trying to get those whittled down. Is it absolutely perfect every time? Of course not. There's human error, and sometimes I miss things that are trending or socially relevant. That it's hard to do research on every single submission.
Yes.
But that's the trick, is that every year there's a new trend, there's a new type of domain name. This year they're obviously crypto and metaverse and all that all that kind of stuff is more prevalent than it was last year. And so there'll be some crypto names in there and some metaverse names in there, of course, because of that. And then you always have some new industries that pop up that weren't in existence years ago. So you have to stay in front of the trend and in front of the what's going on in the news and technology to hopefully get the right names in the right position to sell. And then we spend tons of time reaching out to end users and potential buyers, because without buyers, no auction.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
So that's harder, and obviously, than even selecting the names.
So what are the plans today? This year? Again, to select 500 domain names for pre-bidding, and then to
Around, it's
make
not
make that list shorter to 100 to 200 names. Yes,
no, not 200, just 100,
just
about
100.
100 names, because
Okay.
we have a 3 hour window to do the auction, and when some names keep getting bids,
Okay.
the auction takes a longer time. So we're usually through the auction in 2 to 2.5 hours. So it gives us,
Yes.
gives people time. Plus, if you come to the event, there's drinks and food, and there's alcohol, and it's all you can drink and eat. So a lot of people are having fun,
That helps.
and it really helps. And I bring in my world class auctioneer, Wayne
Yes.
Wheat, and he's awesome, and the domain audience and the domain community love him. He's been with me for I don't know, 10 years now or something. I mean, we've been together for a long time. Um, doing these auctions together, and I had auctioneers before that.
So you will be targeting 500 first, and then weeding them down to 100 domain names. How
Around that.
many and how do you deal with egos of domainers? I just recently saw a domainer getting really upset about Sedo not accepting his premium. Well, let me use the word premium XYZs. How do you deal with that? How do you explain
Um,
that? Sorry, buddy. Maybe next year.
Yeah, so it's just part of the process. It's the same thing that Christie's goes through when they do art auctions, or premium wine auctions, or coin auctions. Same thing with Sotheby's or Mecum, car auctions, and what car is worth more than the other. And again, it's not 100% perfect, but it's pretty close. And since I have so much experience, and I've sold so many domain names and dollars worth of domain names, and ran auction platforms and registrars, and now I run a registry. um, you know, I do the best I can, and I apologize for anybody that thinks their name is better than someone else's. But there's always another auction, and there's always the good news is that we work on all the submissions through our brokerage, and so we sell a lot of names pre, during, post auction through our brokerage, after auction
Okay.
interest, all kinds of stuff. So it's not like it's a one-time event and then it's done. So the good news is we have a awesome brokerage system and network, and so a lot of my sales come after the auction event. So anybody that didn't make the cut for the auction, we're still working on those names. So it's not like they're getting pushed off to the side. So I've been doing it for so long, I don't do that.
Oh, are you saying that you are offering brokerage services as well?
Oh yeah, yeah, I always have.
Yeah. Really?
I
Okay.
created the brokerage system for the entire industry. So
I do remember that, but I thought, yes, I kind of missed that part that you are still doing that.
yeah.
Interesting.
So we broker all the domain names as they come in. So I'm not saving a particular name for auction. If something can sell for at or over expectations prior to the auction, the best thing to do is to take the money off the table for the seller and for the buyer and get that transaction done. We've already sold a couple names that have been submitted. So that happens from time to time. So sorry.
No problem. No problem. Special effects. Special effects. What about the fees, Monty? Are there any submission fees?
There's no submission fees. We add our commission on top of the minimum reserve
Okay.
price. So we don't take our commission from reserve prices. We,
Yes.
we add it onto it. So unlike, for example, Christie's and Sotheby's charge up to 45% commission between buyer and seller. Uh,
Wow. Okay.
we're at 25%. It takes a lot of work to go through the process.
Absolutely.
We have an auctioneer to pay. We have the auction platform to subsidize. Part of the revenue goes to NamesCon,
Yes.
obviously for putting on the event. We are also doing a charitable donation for a percentage of auction sales, both for some NFTs that are being sold in the auction and some domain names this year. So going to build schools and housing in Africa. So we do really good charitable things regarding our auctions as well. But anyway, the bottom line is that our fees are added to the reserves, not taken from the reserve.
Okay.
And then we always protect the reserve price of the seller. So let's say the seller reserve is $10,000 and the auction reserve is at $13,000.
Yes.
If there's a bid at $12,000 or 12.5, I'm going to take it and still protect the $10,000 minimum reserve of the seller, and
Of
I'll eat
course.
commission on my side to get the sale.
Oh, that's good. So
Yeah.
no listing fees. So no listing fees. No. Yes, no listing fees. So you can submit your portfolios of 5, 10,000 domain names, send them all to Monty.
Well, hopefully not 10,000. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So,
And yes,
and then
and
and then
the commission is.
if we're over the reserve, obviously, then we both share in the upside of that, and the sellers keep 75% of all the proceeds. So
So
that's how.
what? So what? So Monty, what happens? For example, huge domains come in and say, "Hey, Monty, 500,000 domain names. Have a look on them." What would you say?
Um, well, I mean, I have the ability to look through that list, but it won't take a day.
Yes.
But if they,
So
somebody submitted
how do you do that? How do you do that? How do you check these
I
lists?
have, again, I've been doing this since 1995. My first
Yes.
auction was in 1999. It was the first auction in the entire industry. Um, I have tools. I have a comparable sales database that no one else has. I have more sales data than probably anybody or any company. As a result of that, of all the private sales plus the public sales that have been done.
Okay. Yes.
So there's over 1 million domain transactions that are on record, but many more that are not on record. So I have ability to do comparable sales and stuff, and figure out what names work and what names don't. Now, of course, names sold in 2008, 2009 sometimes aren't as relevant as names that are sold this year or last year.
Yes. Yes.
So you have to weigh all those factors into the effect. And I have other tools that can help weed popular domain names out from those that aren't.
So you are using rather tools than paper and pen. Yes.
Combination of
Combination.
intuition, experience, automated tools, search engine optimization tools, SEM tools, search, Google search, as well as our own appraisal system and that kind of stuff. So,
And then, as domain names were not enough, you are taking NFTs as well, are you?
yes, we're taking the NFTs as well.
And this is for the first time.
It's the first time we're taking it.
And there is a smile. And now there is a smile.
Yep.
How do you deal with that?
Well, we're keeping that limited. So one of the domainers actually is Christian Calvin. Some people might know who he is. He is an awesome artist as well. And so he's taken some of his art and turned it into NFTs. And we're going to be doing that for the event. And some of, a couple of the NFTs will be domain focused or NamesCon focused, and some of them will be more artistic NFTs. So we'll have some of those. We've had other NFTs submitted as well. So there'll probably be 5 to 15 NFTs, taken from that list and mixed in with the domain names, or we'll do the NFTs separately along with the domain names first or second.
And does it mean that there are no invitations for NFT artists to submit their NFTs to you?
Well, anybody can submit their NFT to the auction.
Okay.
The one hard thing about NFTs, which was the same scenario that I faced when I first did my first domain sales and auctions, is it's very hard to evaluate them and find out what's really good
Exactly.
and what's not.
Exactly.
So, admittedly, I am not an expert NFT evaluator. I am an expert in domain names because I've been doing it from the very beginning of time when domain names, were first registered. So I just happened to, by chance, have that experience. The NFT market, I am not as familiar with, other than knowing, if it's a Bored Ape or a CryptoPunk or a Trippy or, one of these variations of that's already become popular and established itself as a valuable asset.
Those are computer generated. That's computer generated crap.
Right.
No. I would say crap. More like a membership. But okay, sorry.
Yeah. So
Respect to all the
it's very hard. It's very unless it's something that has a history of selling and reselling.
Yes.
As a category of NFT, it's very hard as an evaluator because I am an appraiser also, and I'm a licensed auctioneer. And if anybody's, there is no official license of appraisals in the domain industry, but I invented the appraisal system for the entire industry in 1999. So if anybody's licensed to do it, it would be me. But I'm not an expert on NFTs. So, because there's a specific interest in Christian Calvin's work, because he's also a domainer and an excellent artist,
Okay.
we're experimenting with his, and he does have value in his art. So that I can say because I've seen his art, and he's been displaying his art, and it's going great. And so I know that over time we'll get more NFTs and more art. I mean, Nifty Gateway, Nifty and OpenSea are the leaders in that space in selling NFTs, but they don't know how to
Absolutely.
evaluate NFTs either. There's no reason why, as a digital asset platform, as a digital asset expert, that we can't be a leader in that front as well. And that's probably what we'll be moving on to doing over
Of
time.
course, and there will be many players in this field. Of course.
Yeah, and there's
Yeah.
room for many
And
players.
auction houses, those are not marketplaces. Yes.
Yeah.
They cannot be compared. Joe is asking, hi, just wondering, what is Monte's brokerage platform? What is your brokerage platform?
We don't have a listing service. We go out and market names to end users and make the phone calls and the emails and contact end users. So it's not like a listing platform where people are typing in people do type in the domain name and get a bid form through our
Yes.
platform, but we're probably the only brokerage group that actually still goes out and reaches out to end users, makes phone calls and emails end users and contacts people by LinkedIn and goes through that work. Back in the early 2000s, I was the first one to create like a brokerage house for domain names. So we had live brokers, had a team of up to 10 brokers at one time, pounding the phones, calling, and we sold lots of domain names that way, just like a stockbroker would for stocks and bonds and real estate brokers for houses and real estate. And so I believe in that approach rather than just waiting for people to come to you. So
Yes.
um, so it works out well.
Okay. That's awesome. I was thinking if you needed NFT artists, but then you have your own. A friend of mine, he's very, very private guy. He's one of the earliest NFT artists. His NFTs were done before the punks and before the Stones, before them. Uh, he has been a friend of mine for a long, long, long time. And when he did his NFTs, he learned programming himself and all that good stuff. And we were laughing about him. Who the hell will buy our digital images and what is an NFT? He was one of the first users at OpenSea as well. If you need an NFT artist, but I suppose you've got many.
No, definitely send them my way. I'd love to learn more about it and obviously do it. And then with our hip hop extension, we're ENS enabled, so we're going to be blockchain. We're blockchain enabled and smart contracted, so we're going to be offering ways for artists to download their music into NFTs and their new releases of songs and albums and art and all kinds of stuff. So it's very exciting.
I'm still waiting for the green light to do the live stream about you with hip hop extension. Let us talk.
There's been announcements about the extension, but and we'll have a good presence at NamesCon. But we're slowly doing some stuff. One of the most exciting things about the .hip hop extension is that the 50th anniversary of hip hop in general is August 11th, 2023. So we'll be doing a lot of exciting things leading up to that event and being part of that celebration around the world. And that's really what's going to get momentum for .hip hop and the entire industry. So we're pretty excited about that.
And here's a question, Monty. What do you find the best way when selling the domain names, when doing outreach? Phone, LinkedIn, email? And also, do you use any tools?
All the above. I try to make as many connections as I can through LinkedIn. It's not the best conversion platform for sales, but it does connect to a lot of the decision makers and individuals. And so
no problem.
That's one way to do it. And of course, email and phone calls. And when I was in the medical business, I was trained as a consultative sales approach technique that works really well for domain names, and that's finding what people's needs are when you're trying to sell a valuable asset like that instead of vending. So that results in higher dollar sales. And once you've determined what someone's needs are and wants are through questions and trying to position the domain name as a way where it would be stupid for them to pass it up. you get a lot more results by doing it that way than just saying, "Hey, I have this for sale. You're interested." That doesn't work.
Can you break it down in the basic details?
Well, it's a consultative sales approach. So you're consulting with a potential buyer and a client
Okay.
about what they're currently using today and how a particular domain name may work better. By not owning a keyword or direct match name to their product or service or their company name, once you transform that information into, you know, relevant information, and where they're like, wow, you got a good point there. You got a good point there. How much money do you spend on PPC and buying keywords on Google? What if you bought the main keyword? What if you launched a product and service using the main keyword or search term? And look at the cost analysis of that over time. Why would you have a misspelling of your extension or of your domain name, or an extra long domain name because one wasn't available when you have the opportunity to buy it? And this is why it makes financial sense to do so. Now, does it work 100% of the time? Of course not. But
And
you
that
get
how do you get people answering those questions? As most people would, if you did ask these questions out of the blue, people would just close down and say, "Hey, Monty, mind your own business."
no, not at all, because
No,
because
okay.
because online, your online presence is probably the most important presence that you can have, especially
Absolutely, yes. But
especially
going
today.
and asking these sensitive questions, and
Well, I'm not getting into
have you got some?
confidential information.
Yes,
I'm getting into actually basic black and white. Why did you go with this name versus that name? Why are you using this extension versus that extension? Why are you using this keyword versus that keyword? Most of the answers are obvious. That is that those domain names weren't available at the time. So they weren't available. Somebody else registered it. At the time, it was too expensive for them. Blah blah blah. Um, Venture capital companies, that are inventing, new products and services through
yes,
investment.
absolutely.
That's a key. Starting and launching on the right name and the right brand is key to success. Missing that could be, a life or death of a company, or 10 times the amount of money spent in budget for marketing. So it's those types of points that make the most sense to people. And again, some people are like, oh, I still don't see the value investing in a domain name like that when we're making buy on our own. We finally got people to get, to go buy this name or that name. And, through a lot of energy and time and money and effort, people rebranded themselves, over time with the right name. And those that didn't spent twice as much money than they should have because they didn't. And that's even with the price of a domain name and having the rights to use it.
And do you use some LinkedIn automation tools as well?
No, I don't use
No.
any LinkedIn automation.
Okay.
I contact everybody individually, send them individual messages, and I don't want to be a robot. I want, again,
I have to admit, I'm guilty. I've started using automatization.
it's probably more efficient and whatever, but
It 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 does
and
the
if it
job.
helps
It does the
results,
job.
great.
If it is set up in a friendly way, and you go after highly targeted people and everything is organized properly, then it is highly.
Right. It's hard to sell domain names that way through automation, but
Yes.
I'm doing a lot of reach out, introducing our hip hop extension to all the hip hop industry people at the big record companies, and the rappers and the producers and the songwriters that are online on LinkedIn, and also
Yes.
Instagram, of course, as well. And so we're going to have a much stronger presence in social media, reaching out to those folks on various platforms and channels.
Monty, I have a question to you. Have you noticed, is it just me, but old money starts looking so? You understand the term old money, yes? So
Yeah.
wealth passed by generations over to newer generations. I have noticed that old money is starting being curious about domain names, and probably crypto has helped.
I agree with
What are your thoughts? I'm quite surprised. I start seeing it times by times.
Well, I think crypto has brought that into the spotlight, and ironically, the crypto movement is very similar to the domain movement. The NFT movement is very, the first digital asset really was a domain name. I always looked at domain names as virtual assets and virtual real estate, which is almost the same as digital assets and digital real estate. So, a domain name is a unique piece of property. It can't be duplicated. There's only one of. You can't have two of the same. Ironically, in the crypto world, you can have two extensions that are the same and two domain names that are the same. So that has to be all sorted out. But in 1995, 1996, I always saw domain names as virtual real estate instead of physical real estate, and that's kind of where we are as a flashback. So why is it attracting old money? Because I think some of the old money is looking for new ways to invest, and since crypto has been such on the news front and in the headlines,
Yes.
good or bad or both, it's still reality, and it's still an opportunity to invest in something that's new that could be growing over time. I mean, the thought that crypto is going to go away, or that the blockchain is going to go away, is probably it's not happening. The metaverse is reality. There's so much money being dumped into various metaverses at this time. So I think there's a fear of missing out, FOMO factor,
Okay.
that's
Yes.
going on with old money and with new money. And I think also that old money is being transferred and left to a next generation of users.
Absolutely. Yes.
So like children of those old
They are active. They are active online users.
right.
Yes.
And the physical real estate market has changed so much. Once upon a time, there was great opportunity to buy land in New York and on the beaches and in downtown areas, and now that's so expensive and over marketed. And then to try to guess what the next urban settlement's going to be, and then wait for 20 to 30 years for that to really pay out, when you can get an almost immediate return on buying a digital asset, whether it be a domain name or something in crypto or blockchain or NFT. Sometimes the opportunity looks a lot better. So that's my take on it anyway.
And also are they chasing higher ROIs than traditional investors?
For sure. I mean, yeah, the traditional investments, which I have some of those from my early career. You're happy with the 8 to 15% return on that investment year over
year. Yes.
Yeah. But you're experiencing double, triple, quadruple, 10 times your money sometimes in this new era. I mean, it fluctuates back and forth, but you have opportunities to, make a lot more money at the right times in these investments. I feel, and although it is riskier, that's why you shouldn't use all your money to do it. You should use a portion that you can afford, some kind of diversified investment strategy to do that. Then it makes sense, because it's like diversifying your stock and real estate holdings into non-risky assets compared to riskier assets that are more aggressive. Ultimately the digital space of investment is a higher risk, but has a potential for higher return as more people jump on the bandwagon, and for sure more people are jumping on than jumping off. So over time, it's going to be even more valuable and more valuable over time, with fluctuations and crashes. But if you stick it out, it's probably going to be well worth the pain.
So you have a list already of domain names. Can you actually share with us a few of the domain names, and then the reserved prices or pre-bids, and then let us say somebody wanted to buy one domain only. And
anybody can start bidding right now. We just turned on bidding,
and then maybe you would give a domain name, a price that, and then the price you would expect it to finish at, more or less, and then you could compare it with historical sales of similar domain names, if you understand what I mean.
Yeah, of course. Well, we have some great domain names. You can see the list at the, again, if you log into right of the dot, you can go right to the auction page. But one of the most valuable domain names on the list is automobile.com.
Automobile.com.
Yeah,
okay.
Automobile.com. We had it in the past one time, but it was almost twice as expensive than its reserve right now. But similar domain names, and one of which I've sold, was autos.com for $2.2 million. So this domain name should sell for less than that, but
that was long time ago.
Autos.com.
That was one of your first huge sales, was it?
Yes, it was in 1999.
Yes. Exactly. And now the value of the dollar is totally different.
Yeah, the value of the dollar is probably different, but
Of course.
I would beg to say that autos.com is worth 4 or 5 times what it sold for in 1999. So it's
Absolutely.
but again, that particular market segment, that category has a lot of different names. So there's automobiles, there's auto, there's vehicles, there's car and cars, and various other names in between. But that's a name that has comparable sale history with other keywords, and it should sell for over its reserve, and it could go up to 7 figures, but its reserve is less than that. So
And
that's one example.
what
Uh,
is the reserve?
well, I can't say what the reserve is.
More or less.
It's 6 figures, mid
Yes.
6 figures.
It's 6 figures. Okay.
All right. And then there's autoloans.com, which
Okay.
is related to automobile, but in the car financing business. So that's a great name too. And there's been tons of names in the loan and auto loans and auto selling industry as well. And that's a little bit lower than mid 6 figures. A name that I'm really excited about is comicbooks.com.
Comic books. Okay.
Yep. So just an example, obviously comic books is a complete collectible category. um, some comic books are selling for $3 to $4 million each. Some of the collectible comic books, just like some automobiles are, some collectible automobiles, but comic books has a particular attraction because of its collectible nature and its market segment. And some of the auction houses are making millions of dollars selling comic books. The collectible comic books. So that's a great domain name that's in the higher 6 figures
Okay.
that's probably worth 7 figures, in my opinion. Um, we have a couple really good first names, like, surnames like Doug.com and
Okay.
Pete.com
P.com.
Pete and Doug and Carolyn.com,
Oh, that's a beautiful name.
for
Yes.
example. Another name I'm excited about is likes.com.
Likes.com. Very
Likes.
nice. Yeah. Yes.
So
Yes.
every social media measurement of popularity is based off how many likes they get, right? So it could not only be for like a Facebook or Snapchat or Instagram or a Twitter or a TikTok, but it could be for all those agencies that actually get paid lots of money to make sure that you are socially relevant and get contracted out every month to get likes. So it's an awesome name and also priced in the 6 figures and priced to sell at its mark. It's probably a 7 figure domain name for sure, based off of what we do every day on social media and every time you like something.
What about those?
I've got some
What
great
about those names? Sorry. What
year
about those?
names like Nike.
Okay. What about those names? Dog, Caroline. What would be the prices of those? So if somebody wanted to buy a first name domains are amazing.
Yeah, first name domains are amazing because
They'll be always.
yeah, I mean
They're evergreen
millions.
domain names.
Yeah,
Yes,
there's millions of Dougs, there's millions of Petes,
exactly.
there's millions of Carolines.
And
So
that is the ultimate ego thing. Ultimate.
yeah, it's
Dot
all
com.
to have your first name and even your first name or your last name, but having your first name is pretty cool. So those are um,
Uh,
5 figures to 6 figure range.
so five
Um,
to six figures.
yeah,
And
five to
can
six
you
figures.
can you give us some comparable historical sales
Oh,
if you got them in there?
I've sold tons of first names and last names for 5 to 6 figures. I can't. I'm trying to think off the top. I think I sold Jimmy years ago, Jimmy.com for $95,000. I sold Mark or Marcus for $55,000. We sold Beth.com years and years ago
Okay.
for not years and years, but a few years ago for $120,000. So, those are comparable sales for that.
So up to that price range, you would say those could be good investments. Those first names.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Absolutely. And then
For sure.
low maintenance prices and yeah, to that if somebody wishes to diversify their portfolio, investment portfolio.
Yep. And then we have some great year names like 1961.com,
Okay.
1969.com, 1978.com. Now, those are relevant because they're historical periods of time. Obviously, lots of things happen in those particular years. And so they get lots of lookups because everybody looks, and those, of course, are birth dates of millions of people. So, birth years of millions of people. So we've sold similar names of like that in the mid to high six figures and on those. So,
Okay.
and those are priced in the six-figure range.
Okay.
Then we have a lot of
Are
three.
are those targeting mostly Chinese markets?
No, no,
No.
not. I mean, they may or may not be interested in those because, but because they're year names and not numerical, they're not numerical coding names like
Okay.
eights, nines, and sevens that have,
Yes.
you know, a historical Chinese meaning for success or life or lucky and those types of things. It's more of historical presence type domain names. Year,
So who would
anniversary,
who
anniversary
would be
year.
perfect buyers for those? As a, that is not a domain name you buy to celebrate your wedding anniversary.
Well, you could buy it for anniversaries for your birth year. You could for historical parts of time for
Yes.
significant elections, historical events. They're traffic names, so they get type in traffic
Okay.
because people look up what happened in 1969, what happened in 1961, what happened in 1978. So people do look those up. They get natural type in traffic, a lot of traffic. You can do a lot of things with those names if you have an emotional tie or a financial tie or a physical or tie to those names in some way, one way or the other. Um, so yeah, that's why they're significant. And
Okay.
then
And then.
yeah, and then of course we have some three-letter domain names like upj.com, xey.com, that can have different acronym effects and acronym meanings for companies, individuals, people, and also the historical sales, as everybody knows, for three-letter domain names varies between the mid to high five figures all the way to the seven-figure range.
Absolutely. There's basically there is no range. There is just the bottom.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
it varies, but usually those names sell for mid to high five figures into the six-figure range, but they have gone into the seven-figure range. Um, we have some good like non.com extensions, like we have bedroom.net, we have
Okay.
muscle.io, we have commodity.org, we have low.info, branding.org, government.net. So some really good names like that. Wines.us. We have
Wines.us. That's
yeah,
beautiful. Yes.
we have VIP.hiphop.
So
We
is that your best hip? What are your best hip hop names you are putting on the auction?
Oh,
Via
there's several dot
VIP.
hip hop. We're as a registry, we're only putting up one name, but other names have been submitted by hip hop owners. So dot hip
Okay.
hop owners. So there's Groove dot hip hop is in the auction, I believe, and VIP dot hip hop, of course, and a few others. Um, and getting back to the Bored Ape thing,
Yes.
so we have apes.co.uk. So it should hit home for ape owners in England and in Great Britain. So we have apes.co.uk. And then one of the most,
Okay. Quick question. Sorry. Do you own any apes yourself? Are you part of the club?
I am not a direct owner of an ape, but I have fractional shares of a few apes. So I have part ownership in some apes,
Okay.
3 apes to be exact. Um,
Okay. Okay.
we have club.hiphop as another domain name that's been entered.
Club. Okay.
Yeah. And then one of the great names, actually, that one of the most famous domainers that are in the industry, Frank Schilling owns, is Merry.Christmas. So it's probably the
My dot.
valuable. Yeah, it's probably the most valuable Christmas name. It's Merry.Christmas. So
Yes.
it's an awesome new extension. Of course,
Wow. Okay.
a big greeting cards company could buy that. All the toy manufacturers, all the holiday shopping platforms and affiliates, and all that kind of stuff. That's a awesome name. It's typed in all the time. So it's a great new extension. And then we have some great XYZ names like murals.xyz,
Murals.
fineart.xyz. I mentioned some of those already. So that's just a sampling of some of the
Okay.
great names that you can
Okay.
see.
And then now, can we return a little bit to XYZ, please?
Can we talk about it?
Oh yes, if you don't mind. Uh,
Sure.
what are the reserve prices on XYZ names?
They vary.
More
They're
or less.
some of
Yes.
them are in. I have a couple really good XYZ grouping like packages that are in the low four figures
Okay.
that have like 10 or 15 names grouped together that are all dictionary terms, which are pretty
Okay.
good. And then I have some
One,
really
one,
good,
one word dictionary words or
yeah, one more dictionary
okay.
words.
Yes.
And as everybody knows, .xyz's have some really good sales. And
Well, on the paper, yes, Monty.
yeah,
I would. This is something I've had many arguments, and I'm unbeatable here. Like whoever comes here, just there's too much bullshit on it. Sorry, there's too much. There is no way. There is just too much bullshit in the very beginning, and on
well,
on
there
rot,
there
on
are,
rot, on
there are
rotten stuff like that. We
legitimate sales
trust.
being reported every week for .xyz.
Well, but they have to accept them reported. So that was my question. How
Yeah.
do you accept those minimums on XYZs? But XYZs are because of these reported sales. Let me call them reported sales with all the respect. I might be wrong, but still, with all, XYZs are picking up.
Yeah.
That stuff is working.
Yeah, I mean, we're not focusing our auction around it, but there's some really good
Yes,
names that are XYZ that are on the auction or in the auction,
yes.
and XYZ is becoming popular in the Web3 space. It is also an
Okay.
extension that's ENS enabled, just like .hip hop is, and so they're doing some exciting things with that. So they've integrated ENS.
Sorry, what does it mean?
ENS, the Ethereum naming system.
Oh, okay.
ENS.
Yes.
So,
Okay.
so just like dot hip hop is ENS enabled too, we're already on the blockchain and we're smart contracted automatically from our extension. So that gives us the ability to do Web3 applications and have tools and services on our Web3 platform as well as Web2, which is email, website, and
Yes.
services like that. Um, so all that all that is happening with the ENS platform, and so we're excited to be on that ENS platform, and we'll be coming out with a lot of exciting stuff in the future regarding ENS and DNS together. And so that what gives that .xyz some good value because all the .xyz names are also on ENS.
Okay, that's something I really need to look up. And
Yeah.
what can I say? And once again, what people should know about ENS and why is it important?
So ENS is a blockchain platform
Okay,
that is ICANN compliant. So unlike unstoppable names and handshake names, which are not ICANN compliant.
okay,
And some people see that as an advantage, and some people don't. So some people would say, "Hey, it doesn't. Nothing needs to be governed by ICANN." Well, ENS is not governed by ICANN, but they are following ICANN standards so that there's an easy integration between ENS and DNS, and so that you can use your
okay,
domain names on the ENS and blockchain platform. And ICANN, it still works in Web 2. It still works in browsers.
yes,
Whereas handshake names or some of the other platforms, you cannot see them on your browsers unless you have widgets or other tools to make them
yes,
viewable. Also, it's harder to build websites and use them for email. They're great for wallet addresses to transfer money and products and services in between.
absolutely, yes,
But because it's in its infancy, looking up an ENS name and going to a website and having your email address and all that kind of stuff isn't as easy and sometimes impossible. ENS makes that possible because it integrates DNS with ENS, and then you can use an ENS name like a .eth, which is one of their names, on a DNS platform and see a website and use it as a product and service. In the case of .hip hop, because we're ENS and DNS enabled, same thing for us. Um, I'm not shooting down handshake names or unstoppable names or any of those because I believe that technology is evolving over time and there's a purpose for it over time. And just like when I got into the domain industry,
yes,
there were hardly any websites. There was no Google, no Yahoo, there was no search engine. There was hardly any banner ads. Anything that was there was stagnant pages with
Yes.
with information. So everybody thought that was going to die, in 1999 and 2000, and it didn't. So there's lots of room for innovation and development for the blockchain side of domaining, and I'm positive about all of it.
Absolutely. And every idea and every technology should have the right to be tested to exist. So what
Yeah,
if
for sure.
so what if they're not accredited by ICANN? That's
Well,
fine. Let them run
ENS
their
is not
experiments.
accredited by
Yeah,
ICANN either. They're just being
yeah,
smart and saying,
yeah,
"Hey, we're ENS compliant and DNS compliant, so we're not."
yes.
If,
It is about the technology, not about the organizations.
yeah,
Yes.
it's not on purpose to be governed or not governed. It's just that
Yes.
they felt, in my opinion, they felt it was easier to be compliant when people are already in Web 2 to also utilize your domain name in Web 3. So why not have Monte.hiphop as my wallet address, which you can,
Have you
um,
got it?
because it's ENS enabled. I don't have it set up yet for that, but it will be. But that's what the advantage of having an ICANN extension that also is a blockchain extension on the ENS platform. That's just one of many advantages. In the case of um, handshake names, you can only use it really for a wallet address instead of
Yes.
having to type out that wallet address code. And that has its advantages too. But there's a lot of tools and stuff being developed that will give it capability to have other usage, and I'm all in favor of it.
Monty, here's a question, and I will rephrase it a little bit. Do we still have some 10 minutes, or are the
Yeah, yeah.
dogs trying to get out?
No, I'm good.
So Bix is asking when we need to choose a domain name, we should first search on the most popular niche trended, or is that maybe that is not a question. My question is, you mentioned that there are some trending niches, or yes, trending markets, and do you have any trends put up for the auction?
Well, we do have some crypto names and some meta names and some metaverse
So,
names.
so, so, what crypto names have you got there?
Um, I have to look at the list, but let's see here.
Crypto, although hurt, is still trending, and Bitcoin is slowly getting up, hopefully.
Let's see.
Were you hurt a bit by the Bitcoin's fall, temporary fall?
Oh yeah, I do have some Bitcoin for sure, and of course I was hurt, but I've already taken my money out of crypto. So, in other words, I took my profits off the table and my costs. So now I'm playing with the house
Ah,
money, so it's all okay.
awesome, awesome.
Um, I'm having a little bit of trouble. Oh well, here's NFTchain.net.
Okay,
I have widgets.info, which can be used for crypto. I know we have a bunch of crypto names in here. Here's ethprice.io, board
ETH.
ape. Here's boardape.info. I already mentioned apes.
Aren't they bored ape? Isn't that a trademark?
Nope, it's not a
Are you
trademark.
sure?
Yep, I'm sure it's a open address and anybody can use it.
But
Here's
the board apes are created by a company. They are not like that is not an open source technology or something. Board
I
ape.
know, but
Okay.
trademark the
Yes, you should know
trademark is
better, of
open.
course.
Yeah,
Yes.
trademark is open. We have metastudio.xyz.
Okay.
I'm just looking at some others. Metaversecoop.com. We have metaverse uh, metaverse investment
Okay.
dot net. I have a number of these. So I just don't know them off the top of my head, but they're definitely in the list.
How are .nets doing these days? In
Actually, .nets are having a little bit of a rebound. There are some domainers that are .net buyers, and so we do have some
Yes.
names in there. And net, which stands for network, is also becoming crypto type metaverse type name.
I do
Uh,
like nets. I do like nets. Really do like nets.
yeah.
Yes.
So, if everybody remembers, .net was the second choice to .com when the .com wasn't available back in the old days, but it was intended for networks and networking of companies. and a lot of DNS servers have .net addresses. But there's a lot of for-profit companies using .net names, obviously, and same with .org. And so, .org was intended for nonprofit and charitable names, but they never, designated that from an ICANN standpoint that it has to be a nonprofit. So there's lots of profitable businesses running on .org sites, as well as nonprofit organizations and stuff.
And how about .us? Is .us coming back? I see that CCTLDs are getting stronger and stronger, and quite often the sale of a CCTLD would be almost equal to the .com. Before it was 1/10th, 1/50th of the .com price, but now they can get 1-to-1.
Yeah, they can. I think what's happening overall is that there's just more people getting on the web, and there's more activity. So, from 5 years ago, there's twice as many internet users, and traffic is 4 times what it was 5 years ago. And the next 5 years, it's going to actually double from that again. So it's going to be, 10 times the traffic than it is today in the next 5 years, or quadruple that. When you have so many people coming online, and they're looking for alternative extensions, and people don't know that .com was the first commercial extension, they're going to alternate extensions, and that's why there's all these new extensions in play. So the simulation to this, for those of you that are in the United States, we have these toll-free numbers, and they started off with 800 buy cars. It was an 800 and then a vanity name because you couldn't remember what the numbers were. So there's 800 buy cars and 800 doctors and 800 real estate and 800 this. And then when all those vanity numbers ran out, they went to 888 and then 866, 877, 855, 833, 822, 811. There's 20 toll-free numbers now that are available that all have the spelling of buy cars. Yes. Now my kids don't know what a toll-free number is because they're on cell phones and they don't care.
Exactly.
So to them, typing in a .com versus a .law or whatever, it's not relevant to them. They don't.
No, I'm really curious.
They don't care what .com means or whatever.
So let me check my iPhone. Yeah. Oh no, we can still see the letters. The letters are still there.
Yeah. So that's what happened with the domain extensions. Is that once .com ran out of premium real estate, ICANN said, okay, let's open it up for innovation and not in competition. And so that's why we have 1,000 new extensions, because that was all kind of used up real estate. When you have to type in names and characters longer and longer, there's a lot more risk for error of typing those in or misspelling them and going through that. So that's why all these new extensions were created. In our in my generation and all the big .com stubborn owners that can't see the future. .com is king. All these other things will fail. Whatever. I initially believed that when I ran Moniker, and I was like, I didn't think that they're stupid. I just felt that they had to play themselves out with .info and .biz and .tel and .mobi and .name and .pro, because those were some of the initial new extensions that were released first.
Yes, .biz, yes.
Before people then started getting, .health and .sex and .adult and .car and .auto and all that, all these extensions. But it's all open to innovation and who drives the most traffic and usage on those. And it should be a free and open market. And so that's where we are today. So getting back to your original point and question is, I think that my feeling is that because of the new generation of users, that more country code extensions are being registered, more new TLDs are being registered, because the current .com, .net, .org, .whatever in the short namespace has been all taken and registered or in use. And so it gives more opportunity. So when you do that and you open up a market for a new extension or a country code, they become more valuable as more registrations become more valuable. And then, of course, you have the country codes that have alternate meanings. One of the first ones was .tv, of course. When I was around, when I first started, Moniker.tv was already present as an alternate extension. So was .cc. So was .ws. So they coined .ws as website. .cc was carbon copy. Now people are using it for cryptocurrency.
Yes.
So they're using
Chinese like them as well.
and
Yes.
then IO is a very popular tech
Indian Ocean, yes, and
right?
used
Indian
for
Ocean.
hacking and startups,
And
yes.
then there's AI, for
Artificial intelligence.
artificial intelligence. So the use of these alternate extensions, obviously, can be played as long as there's a strong government and there's a free marketplace inside those countries. That's the other risk, is if it's a dictatorship-owned country, you have more risk, like Iran with .ir, or even Russia now is pretty scary to get a .ru name as someone
Totally,
outside.
totally crazy. Totally
Right.
crazy.
So, but if there's a strong, open, democratic government in these countries, that it makes sense. In the case of Tuvalu, a king operates that island, but he is a monetary king who loves to get paid a portion of every domain name is
Yes.
registered. So the country makes hundreds of
Thanks.
thousands of dollars through .tv registrations.
Perfect.
Now what they have to do is prevent the island from sinking, because it's sinking in the ocean.
Oh,
So
oh, I
the,
didn't know that. That's
because of raising tide waters, the island is slowly going underwater. So the big
that's
joke is that they'll have the biggest tower with a computer on top and an antenna, so that .tv always exists.
yes. Monty, returning to the auction. The domain names are not going to be sold there for £5, for $10, for $20. So the prices will be significantly higher. And are the winning bids legally binding?
Yeah. So
So
every
what buyers should know, especially the new buyers?
right. So the minimum bid for any name, even if it's no reserve name, will be $500 opening bid.
Okay.
So a no reserve name, even if it says no reserve, it means that the opening bid will be $500. So we will not sell a name for less than $500. And that's for a couple of reasons. One, it takes a lot of money to process each sale, to transfer ownership, and the time
Yes.
it takes. And of course, the seller has to get proceeds for that. And then anybody that signs up to bid is obviously signed up as a legal binding bidder, and they have to show proof of ID.
Okay.
And in order to get additional buying credit, we have you go through a couple other questions and stuff, and to qualify you to bid over $2,000. And so
So,
you may have.
and then the next step would be $2,000. Of course, you need to make sure that the buyer has got funds, that he's not
Yeah,
joking around or just
yeah,
pumping
yeah.
up the
You're
price.
legally bound to it, just like Christie's, just like Sotheby's, just
Yes.
like all the other auction houses. So we take a credit card as a backup payment, in case something
Okay.
happens. And sure, we've had default bidders in the past, very few, but there have been incidents. And unlike a lot of the auction houses, I legally go after those that are trying to fraud or misbid on the system.
Of
So
course.
we do not let that stuff. We don't take that stuff, by chance at all. We enforce our bids and enforce our bidding activity and protect buyers and sellers. And the same thing if a seller submits a name that's that they don't own,
Has
and
it
they do.
happened before?
Oh yeah, they've done that before. But they'll have a
But
misspell. They
maybe
submit
by not knowing, or
They
drop
have a
it.
plural instead of a singular. I mean, they're
Okay,
bound
I
by
see.
making that error. They're bound in case that name sells. They're going to have to compensate the auction house, which then I have to compensate the buyer because of the mishap,
Oh, I see. Okay.
or reverse that transaction. So this again is not uncommon. It happens in all auction platforms, even Christie's and Sotheby's and Mecum. It happens, but we do whatever we can to be diligent. And 99.9% of all of our auctions, complete, and transactions are, completed, and payments are made, and names are transferred, and all that. So it's very few transactions. It's one or two in a auction of this magnitude, and all are generally resolved.
So Monty, what people should be prepared to, if they are thinking of buying one or two, let us use the proper word, expensive domain names, to make a significant investment, 5 figures, 6 figures into a domain name. So somebody wants to buy one good, as good as possible domain name. Let us say a first name domain name. Five at the opening bid, 500, they will not be bothered. Then at 2,000, but if they know that the price might go over 50,000, over 100,000, what do they need to be prepared for? Do they need to contact you up front, or?
Yeah, so we ask anybody that signed up for bidding what names they're interested in, so that we
Yes.
can take
Okay.
measures. Sometimes a deposit, a refundable deposit is made to escrow for those big transactions.
Okay.
We already know the bidder and we know the party, and they've done business with us before. Obviously, that then we know that they're a
And
good.
that helps, yes. But with
Yeah,
the new
that helps.
ones,
So,
yes.
so a lot of the buyers are repeat buyers, even some of the corporations. When we're dealing with a corporation, of course, we're doing our diligence with the corporation. 54% of all of our domain names are sold to end users, so either corporate buyers or not a domainer type buyer. So we handle that in a different way, and that's why the auctions are generally successful for the most part. The wild card of this auction will be the current economy, um,
Yes.
how many people show up at NamesCon, because it's
Absolutely.
right before Labor Day weekend. So it's a weird time, but I think that excitement of people wanting to get together and meet in person outweighs, because they haven't seen each other in 3 years, outweighs we're butting up against Labor Day weekend in the United States. Kids are going back to school during the same time, so like I'm taking my daughter to college the week before, so
Yes.
I'm going to be on the road myself. So there's a lot of wild cards, but we're going to make it as a successful an event as possible.
That's fabulous. One thing, could you connect me later on, maybe with the organizers of NamesCon, just that I could have a chat with them when I plan the European domain
For sure.
summit,
Yeah, yeah.
and that we actually compare the possible dates. And
Yeah, it's Christian.
this year I did got lucky. There is a week in the middle. I announced like 1 week before them, but they could kill everything.
It's Christian Yeager and Soren. They've run NamesCon from the well, Soren has run it from the very beginning, but I'll put you in touch with them when we're off the
That
live
that
stream, and I'll
that would be
send you their
fantastic.
contact information.
Of course, and then we can exchange possible dates and just agree between
Yeah, yeah.
ourselves. Yes.
Yeah, because
Simple.
you'll find it hard, obviously, when you put a conference back to back next to another one that's
Exactly.
in the
And,
same.
and nobody benefits from it. Nobody
Right,
benefits
and I'm sure you didn't do it on
Absolutely.
purpose, and they didn't do. They already had their date set. I don't know, months and months ago. They had to have two
Yeah.
cancellations because of this COVID situation. So they had two cancellations of two previous shows. That's why we're on our third.
Really? Okay.
Well, yeah,
I didn't
it
know
was
that.
two summers in a row. We couldn't do a live
Yes.
conference because of COVID. So the date shifted a little bit. I think it was beginning of August, and somehow because of this year, there was some other thing going on at the hotel at the Omni, and
Yes.
so they had
Yes.
to push it to that last weekend, first weekend of September, last part of August.
Oh, that is so. 2 years was cancelled, and now they are back. Everything should be
Yeah,
fine this year.
2 years
Everything should be
canceled.
fine
Yeah,
this year. Yes, everything. The things are getting back to normal. Hopefully, hopefully, we'll see. Okay, and thank you, Monty, for coming in. And then the next live stream, maybe we can do about the hip hop extension.
yeah,
Shall we? Shall we?
yeah, for sure.
That would be that would be amazing. I have so many questions about launching your own extension. God.
Yeah,
Uh, and of course, and to our American viewers, if you are interested into European market, well, European market is as large as the American market, and of course, NamesCon is mostly the US event. It is a global event, but many countries have got difficult times on getting visas and flying over to the States. London is sometimes it is more approachable, and the weather will be very mild as well. 22, 25 degrees Celsius, so definitely nothing crazy. You are most welcome.
I heard it's getting up to 100 degrees in London this weekend or something.
Oh God, it is. These two
Yeah,
days they are crazy. 38
yeah,
degrees Celsius, but
unbelievable.
that's a normal afternoon in Austin, I think. Is it?
Yes, it is. Yeah, well, I'm in South Florida, so it doesn't get over 100, but it's it's
Oh, is it the same? Is it the same in Florida?
it's not never over 100 where I am. It's always in the
That's
90s or 80s, but it's humid, so it feels
oh
like it's
God, it is a nightmare here.
yeah.
People are not
But
walking down the streets.
all that
Nobody
bad
is working.
yeah
People are staying home.
all that humidity goes away in November, and then it goes away until like March. So it's actually pretty good.
So that's the good time to go to come and visit you.
Yep. Yeah,
Of
sure.
course, and whoever wishes to come to London, August 22nd, 23rd, I'm renting a place, a restaurant, good Asian restaurant among top 40 all the London restaurants. Entry is free, food is free, drinks are free,
Ah,
free wine, free white wine, free red wine, beer, water. The rest you can purchase, and
throw some bourbon and some tequila in there, and I might come.
we'll have a nightclub. So take up your awesome girlfriend and come up. Yes, and of course, and huge thanks to IT.com, who are the main presenting sponsors and who are allowing this event to be as amazing as it is. And thank you, Monty, and all the best with your auction.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me. If anybody needs to answer any questions, just email me at monty@rightofthedot.com.
So Monty at rightofthedot.com.
And all the information can be found at rotd.com about the auction and submitting your names and getting registered to bid and everything.
And nobody understands the amazing work and the huge loads of work you are doing. So absolutely super impressive every year coming back and performing the same. Thank you, Monty.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Have a good day.
All right. You too. All right.